So the next thing I wanted to talk about quickly is promoting promotions, which always sounds a little goofy to say. But when you invest in a cool property that does a lot of work for you, that it's driving sales, it's driving audience growth, it's doing a lot of the things that you want it to do, you want to get as many eyeballs on it as possible. Now, the prize and the fun of it goes some way to doing that, but not 100% of the way. There's still other things that you can do. And I think that changed from last year to this year in, what we're capable of doing, just because, regulations, how we look at stuff and everything has changed a bit. But I usually recommend a almost overwhelming blend of available house media and not really additional ad spend on these kind of programs, because you already have the majority of brands have an audience baked in, whether that's an email list that already exists. They've got the in-store traffic that can be pointed to with signage, they can point it to with pin cards, and they've got their social networks that usually for a lot of brands, people are pretty excited about interacting with. There's a couple of huge brands where you get kind of a grumpier audience on social media, but for most, your audience is pretty excited about your brand and wants to engage with your programs. So there's ways to take advantage of that audience and use them to promote the program as well. You can reward people for sharing a promotion. You can reward people for entering codes that are only found on house media. So codes that are on your Facebook page, your Twitter, your Instagram. I know some restaurants now I see doing TikToks. You can throw codes on there as well. It's funny, I feel like a boomer saying TikTok because I know I've aged out of the TikTok demographic slightly, but there's a lot of brands doing that quite well. And anywhere that you can tag codes, it makes people feel like they've got an extra reward for being part of that audience. And that does a couple things. It drives more people to those pages. So people who are in the promotion from other places are now being driven to those social networks, but also takes your enthusiastic social audience and it makes them feel like they've been rewarded for being there and drives them into the promotion. So it's really, like I said earlier, about getting whatever available audience you've got and moving them towards the program as much as possible. Now, I'm not saying never spend money on ad spends. They do sometimes work, but it is the views are a lot more expensive to get there than in your house media. And if budget's got to be allocated somewhere, ads are not my number one suggestion for getting eyes on a promotion. You really want to maximize your audience wherever possible before you do those big ugly ad spends that you get 1 billion impressions and the click-through rate is 0.001%. So I'm not saying don't do them, but certainly go into them as a last element that you want to buff up performance as much as possible.